All right, I am in Italy, and I am going to be making spaghetti pasta with meatballs. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. Absolute goodness. So right here, I got these meatballs from, I don't know, I can't pronounce it in French, but I got these right here, and they are pre-rolled. So I'm going to set these to the side, let these reach room temperature, and right over here, I have pan that I'm going to be cooking the meatballs in, and I'm also boiling some water for the pasta. Let me go ahead and bring some of that out. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, let's see, where is, this is some gorgonzola cheese that I bought right here. I'm just going to take a piece of this. Absolute goodness right here. Really good. And I have some pasta right here. Look at this, fresh pasta. Tagliatelle pasta. Absolute goodness. I have some Parmesan cheese. Let me get another bite of this right here. This is gorgonzola. And I was able to pick up some fresh Parmesan. And I might even throw some mushrooms in there, but that's still trying to decide on that. And I have some broccoli that I'm going to be using as well. So let's get started with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get my garlic. I have fresh garlic right here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Absolute goodness. So I have the fresh garlic. Give me a couple of cloves of the garlic, a couple of pieces of the garlic. Put them out here. Absolute goodness. I'm going to take it. Now, when you're taking the garlic, you press it like that and you get it out of the skin. Absolute goodness. And you get it out there, and then you have the nice aroma from the fresh garlic. So I'm just going to keep on doing this. It sounds like the pasta water is coming to a boil, and I want to cook the pasta right away. Go ahead and get some of this garlic going. All right, so I have this. Take this out. Another piece right here. And, oh man, the garlic smells fresh, smells good. Absolute goodness. Take this out, put this right here. All right, one more piece of this. All right, so let's go ahead and cut some of this garlic up. Now I'm going to be using this for the meatballs. All right, so go ahead and cut up some of this fresh garlic. Get the aroma going. All right, cut that up. Smells great, smells good. And then I have a little bit of basil. So I'm going to pull out some basil. I like cooking with basil because it has a fresh basil taste. All right, so I'm going to come over here, rinse the basil off. Rinse the basil. Smells fresh, like $1,000,000. Absolute goodness. So I'm going to cut up some of this basil. This is going to be flavoration for the sausation of the whatever that's supposed to say. Didn't know what to say. Now look at this. This is the fresh Parmesan. Good. So good. So great. Better than a steak. Well, almost. So I have this. Here are the meatballs. And so what I'm going to do is, we'll go ahead and turn the stove on. It's about a medium. And then I'm going to take some fresh, all-American Italian olive oil. Let me get this out. I'm going to wait for the pan to heat up. Now I want to do that because I want the pan to be hot to the right heaterization before I add the meatballs. All right, so I'm heating up the pan. That's going on. I'm going to cut up a little bit of fresh Parmesan cheese right here. Absolute goodness. Got some fresh Parmesan cheese. Absolute goodness. Take a bite out. There's nothing like fresh Parmesan cheese. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of olive oil. To the pan. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add meatballs to the pan. Now do this because should have had the pan a little bit hotter, but hindsight is 20/30. So I'm gonna put the meatballs in the pan, turn the pan up slightly, because I want them to toasterate a little bit on the outside. Let me rinse my hand really quick. Put a little bit of soap on it. Absolute goodness. All right, so the meatballs are starting to cook. Let me go and wrap that up. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the broccoli. Look at that. Come up to the screen, smell that. Meatballs are starting to cook perfectly. I want them to brownitate before I add some of the garlic and salt to it. So here's the broccoli. You know what? I'll clear the plate before I cook the broccoli. All right. So I have that. Have this going on. Have the meatballs going. The pasta water boiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in and get some utensils going right here. All right, so the meatballs are starting to cook. Just let them frietate on the side. Don't worry too much about them. They're just doing just fine. Absolute goodness. So the water is boiling back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my pasti, tagliatelle, open this up, fresh tagliatelle. A lot of pasta in here. Now it comes in bundles right here. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to cook this until it's al dente. All right, so have the pasti, tagliatelle pasti. So I have this right here. Put that in there. All right, ladies, I'm going to use all the bundles at once. Have you ever seen that? Absolute goodness. Actually, I'm going to save one bundle for later. Put that up. Save that for the next trip to the salon. Absolute goodness. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and boil this. I want to bring this back to a boilinization. Now, the reason why I'm putting the top on is because it retains the heat a little bit. Normally, you're not supposed to cook pasti with the top on like this, but the stove is not all that mighty powerful. So, all right, so it's starting to brownitate on the side. I'm just going to go ahead and flip the meatballs. You can smell the greatness coming out of these. Absolute goodness. So I'm going to flip these, and they're going to start to brownitate on one side. Look at that. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. So I have the basil right here, I have the garlic, I have the Parmesan cheese right here, all ready to go in. I have the pasta noodles cooking on the back burner, and it looks like it's slowly coming to the boil. I didn't want it to come slowly to the boil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ladle, and then I'm going to actually remove some of the water out of this, because I want it to come to a fast boil, because I want them to be al dente. So I'm going to remove some of the water from out of this. This is a method that your mamma mia may have told you. That's an Italian word. Absolute goodness, all right? So pull this out, pull out a lot of water, and it's going to come to a boil quite fast. Absolute goodness. All right, so it did that. Pour the water down the sink. Absolute goodness. Now have this. So I'm just gonna keep on stirring this up right here. Got the meatballs cookerating. Now the point is just to get them brownerated. They're gonna be a little bit undercooked on the inside, but that's okay. Because what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to put the sauce in there, and the sauce will permeate with the meatballs and cookerate. Absolute goodness. Got a little bit more of the Parmesan. So here's the basil. Come on the screen, smell this. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. So the noodles are cooking quite nicely back there. The meatballs are cooking quite nicely. They brownitated, giving it a nice flavoration. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add most of the garlic. And I like to leave a little bit out because it gives a different flavor when it's not brownitating. All right, smell the fresh garlic in there. Absolute goodness. And so what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take the homemade pasty sauce right here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the fire. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the homemade sauce. To this. Hot. I'm gonna let that cookerate. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the top, place it on top of this right here. Have it down low. Now you want it to cook really low, all right? Because you want the innards to be cooked. And I'm gonna add a little bit of basil. I'm gonna put this on top because I want it to let it sweat. I want the basil flavoration to sweat, all right? Absolute goodness. And I'm gonna put this on here, and I'm gonna let that cook. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. Now I need to come back here and I need to check on the pasty. Make sure that it's getting to al dente. Grab a fork. Absolute goodness. Grab a fork, pull this out. Check to see if it's al dente. Look at that. Almost al dente. Turn this up a little bit. Let that cook. Now, it's gonna start to cook, it's gonna start to smell good. I'm addicted a little bit to this Parmesan. I'm gonna add a little bit more Gorgonzola. Cheese right here. Absolute goodness. And I thought about making the mushrooms, but I'll save that for a different meal. Absolute goodness. Fresh olives. Black olives. Absolute goodness. Look at that. Could try one of these. Absolute goodness. So the meatballs are starting to cook a little bit. The top on. Gonna go ahead and check on this. Tagliatelle. Come up to the screen. Look at that. 100% all Italian American pasta. All right, so it's ready to be strained. So I'm gonna go ahead, take the pot. Strain the pasty. I'm gonna use the same pot to actually make the broccoli. Absolute goodness. So I'm gonna put a little bit of water inside of here. Rinse out some of the tagliatelle. Absolute goodness. So I have this. Put that there. And so what I'm going to do is, while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the broccoli. Pull this out. I'm not going to cook the stems right now, but those are really good. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the broccoli. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take this, cut it like that, cut it like that, cut it like that. Absolute goodness. And then I'll put it in here, but I'm gonna rinse this. I forgot to rinse this. So I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this down, put that in the pot, take some of the stems right here, the green leafies, absolute goodness. Cut this one more again like that. Put that to the side. Another stem. Cut that. All right, so you have all of this. I'm gonna put that in the pot. And I'm gonna take this over here and I'm gonna rinse this. Now, with the pasty, I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil on it to keep it from stickerating. I'm just gonna take this and rinse this well. Absolute goodness. And then strain it. Double rinse. Strain it. Strain it. And then put a little bit of water in here. Not too much, just a little bit. Now the idea is it's going to steamerate inside of this pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn this all the way up. Absolute goodness. All right, I'm gonna check on the meatballs. And I'm gonna stir in some of the meatballs with the sauce, and you get that sweaterated basil in there. All right, so the heat from the sauce is cooking the meatballs from the inside, from the outside to the inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this right here. Put the top on this right here. All right, so this is all cooking. I'm gonna clean up just slightly. Put things away. Fresh basil smells good. All right, so I'm putting away some of the stuff so I have a clean place. Put that away. Absolute goodness. Now this is cooking. This is heating. I'm gonna throw away some of the stuff. Put away the pasty. Absolute goodness. All right, I'll check on the broccoli. Seems to be cooking. Now I want to try some of this tagliatelle. All right, just stir it a little bit. Like that. Try some of this. Now I like to cook it to al dente. If you know me, you know I like cooking my food to al dente, especially when it comes to my ramen noodles. Absolute goodness. So good. So put that away. Rinse my hand off a little bit. Now, it's cooking quite nicely. I'm gonna turn this down slightly. Turn that up, turn that down. Check on this. Add a little bit of olive oil to this. Now this is boiler rating. It's too much water in here, so I'm just gonna drain some of the water. Put this back on. Now the key to steamer rating things is to steamer rate it. All right, so I'm gonna put that right there. Put the top on, let that cook. And then check on the meatballs to see how well they're going. So what you wanna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and slice in half. You can see that it's pinkerated still inside a little bit. So I'm gonna stir this up. And it's gonna take a little bit more cookerating in order to get there. Now if you need to add a little bit of water if the sauce is getting too thick, do that. Absolute goodness. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this. Then I'm gonna come over here. Or a little bit of water here and there. And then stir it. Because you want the meatballs to be cooked all the way through. Absolute goodness. Put that in there, and I might even turn it up slightly. And the broccoli is cooking. You can see the steam coming from the sides. Let that cook through. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of the basil on top. And I'm gonna add the rest of the garlic into the pot. Absolute goodness. Another piece of the cheese. And let this start to boil right. Add a little bit more water to it. Boom, boom. All right, got that going on in here. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a plate. Look at that, nice plate. Rinse this off. And momentarily, I'll be able to enjoy this. Take a little bit of the pasti, tagliatelle, put some on the plate right here. Check on the broccoli. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this. Check on the broccoli. Stir this up a little bit. See if it's close to being al dente. Indeed it is. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Boom. Really good. So I'm going to take some of the broccoli, put it on the side of the plate, and then put some of the broccoli right here. Get some of the green leafies on there. Put that on too. Absolute goodness. So have this on here. Gonna check on the meatballs. Gonna take this to one more stir. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to it. See how well this is cooking on the inside? It's gonna take a little bit more, so I have to be a little bit patient and let this cook more for this to be done. Absolute goodness. So I'm gonna cover it like that, and I'm gonna let this cook down a little bit. All right, the pasti sauce, the meatballs are ready. I'm just gonna go ahead and take this, stir it a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it over the pasta. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top. Now, I like it when it's slightly melted, slightly not melted. Gonna put that like that. Let the heat melterate it. Gonna go ahead and take this, and I'm gonna use my ladle to get the sauce. Look at put the sauce with the meatballs. Top, look at the cheese. Get all this right here. Absolute goodness. It smells great. Now, right now, I want you to come up to the screen and smell this. Come up to the screen, drop whatever you are doing. Come up to the screen and smell this. Only one thing I can say about this. Absolute goodness, if you ask me. Absolute goodness.